I didn't realise that coming to do the podcast would be like being trapped back in a sort of trauma flashback.
That's where we get people in. Welcome, Matt, to the Taskmaster podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're very excited to have you here in the Caravan. You were just saying, just before we started recording, that we like our guests to feel comfortable and excited to be here. I believe you used the phrase trauma flashback.
Yes, I did. I thought podcast, it's an audio medium. I didn't quite bank on the cameras and especially this GoPro, which really does.
Yes, a 360 camera.
Yeah.
Which I've seen how it looks, and it's not flattering. It's quite a sharp angle.
And it just screams, let's make sure we've covered every corner of this place so there is nowhere for a person to hide and keep their dignity.
Yeah, you can't hide. There will be no dignity maintained.
None.
If indeed, do you feel like the experience of Taskmaster was an undignified experience?
We're here to talk about episode 2, aren't we?
Yes.
Well, swings and roundabouts.
Okay, that's good. So we've got stuff to look out for in future episodes. Look, it's a brilliant series so far. We're all loving it. You seem like a genuinely good Taskmaster contestant. You won the first episode of the series.
That's a bizarre thing. I kind of came into it thinking maybe I would do all right.
Yeah.
I think because I've watched it a lot, I sort of thought, I know you need to think laterally, and I know you need to sort of look around, and there might be shortcuts and clues. But then my experience I very quickly felt like it had been a disaster. So it really took me by surprise winning the first episode.
So when you were filming the tasks, straight away you were like, I'm actually bad at this.
I'm terrible.
Yeah.
I immediately, if you spoke to the lovely Chrissy, makeup artist, she would tell you that I came back into that room after every single task, sat on the sofa and put my head in my hands. I was just like, oh no, I'm that guy.
Yeah, that is the exact thought I had on my first day. Right. I can't believe I'm the stupid one on this.
Yeah, that was 100% my feeling, and I thought I'll be the one that Greg sort of turns to at the end of the VT and says, I've written something down. I've written, you look like someone had escaped the local care home and was wandering around the supermarket. I was like, that's going to be me. So it amazed me, actually, that any of them went okay.
What is interesting about this series so far is I think all of you, in a sense, are that person.
That's probably true.
Everyone has an element of that so far.
Yeah. I sort of initially misdiagnosed Jason as chaotic because he was being so front-footed and American and was like really wanted to go for it, and then very quickly realised, he just wants to destroy. That's all he wants to do.
That's very much the vibe we're getting so far.
Oh my goodness, I think at one point in the series, he refers to it as a secondary ongoing mission to destroy. I think secondary is not right. I think that was his primary mission.
Primary objective.
Yeah.
Had you worked with many of the other contestants or even met them before the show?
I hadn't met any of them. Yeah.
Wow.
No.
So on that first day of the team task,
yes.
We're going to talk about the first team task here.
Oh, is that yes.
Yeah.
That was awkward. Yeah. I feel like I've seen some awkward ones. I think this might be the most awkward.
I don't think so. I think you were all sociable enough to make sure it wasn't the most awkward. The most awkward ever, and I don't think this will ever be beaten, is Richard Herring meeting Daisy May Cooper.
I'm trying to remember how that went down. The one that was in my mind just then was Emma Siddy telling everyone she was Emma Siddy.
Yes, so that was poor Babatunde, because Andy was dressed as a cricketer and Emma was dressed as a detective. They'd never met before, so he didn't know what was going on. He thought it was part
of I didn't realise this was fancy dress.
Yeah.
I had the opposite experience, which is that I assumed I wouldn't be the only one who'd like
Gone all out,
gone for an outfit.
Yeah. Let's talk about the outfit before we get into this episode, Matt, because it's, I'd say, bold. I think you look fantastic in it. Quite short shorts. How did you come to the decision of the outfit? Were there other things in your mind that you might have gone with?
There were a couple of sort of other contenders.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as I was asked to do it, I knew I would. Yeah, I'll definitely wear an outfit.
Yes.
I just felt like, yeah, I've not done much stuff as myself, and I'm usually not quite wholly comfortable in my own skin. And I thought, if I wear some sort of an outfit, it will feel like not a character, but just a permission to be ridiculous.
You're playing an elevated version of yourself as like a character.
I'm not even sure it's that. I think it is just literally a sign that says, I'm here to be laughed at. That's
fine. Good. Yeah.
And I thought, I didn't, and then you're trying to come up with something, and I kind of thought it'd be funny if it looks like an attempt to do something serious in a sporting sense, an athletic. Given the tasks are all ridiculous, if you look like you've shown up for a proper sporting event, and then you're, painting eggs or whatever it's going to be.
Great. It's an instantly funny outfit. As soon as you appear on the screen in that first episode, huge laugh.
I will say this: it's actually more than I bargained for, because I was given the option of going and getting stuff, and I took the lazy route, because they also said, we can source some bits for you if you've got an idea.
Never let them do it.
And I was like, well, maybe if I look like I'm sort of running a marathon or doing track and field or something. So if you could get me, and I did say, to be fair, I said short shorts because they're funnier than long shorts, and a vest with a number on it. And the vest was too big and the shorts was so much shorter than I necessarily bargained for.
And you are really the only one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Jason is wearing an outfit, and he wears the same outfit in the studio.
Yeah, that's what he wears in life.
Yeah, just the whole time.
That's all he wears the whole time. He'd have worn that on your podcast, I imagine.
Yeah, he must have done.
Yeah.
But obviously at the time I hadn't seen any of this, so I didn't connect that.
That's his thing.
He would wear that all the time. Is it sort of like I mean, we can ask him. I'm sure we'll be interviewing him at some point for this. But is it like a Steve Jobs thing? Did he explain the outfit? Steve Jobs used to only have the same stuff, so he didn't waste any time deciding what to wear.
I know Nick Cave talks about like that. That's the great thing about it. This is my look.
Yes,
I've just chosen it. So there's no. So Steve Jobs, Nick Cave, and Jason Mantzoukas.
I'd put those three together anyway. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the prize task on this episode 2, the snootiest thing. A lovely open prize task category, I think.
Yeah, it was quite a tricky one.
Yeah, because there is no definition of snooty, really. Snooty is a feeling, snooty is a vibe.
I guess so. And also it's like, if snooty, I suppose, is like looking down on people.
Yes. Yeah.
And how can that be inherent to a thing? So like my first thought was things like monocles.
Yeah.
Because they would be worn by someone snooty. But here's the thing. I felt like my time in the house had been so disastrous that when the prize tasks were listed for me, I was like, okay, this I can actually think about.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one piece of control I can have, is how much thought and diligence I put into these prize tasks. So I thought about them a lot.
I think that's good. I think that's the sign of a good player.
So I was like, I don't want to go route one. I thought monocle, that sort of, there'll be other similar things. And I was, and then I thought, I know someone who went to Eton.
Yeah.
There must be something redolent of that.
Yeah.
And so I credit that to him.
The Oppidans cap from the Eton College Wall game. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think Greg made a really good point that it's almost more snooty from the fact that no one really understands what it is. Like it's totally so preventative to anyone who didn't go to Eton
Yeah.
That it's like mythical and confusing.
It's
and
absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And that even if you went there, it's not like a game we regularly play at Eton.
Yeah.
It's a game they play once a year. That it seems as though basically there's never a winner, because the scoring
Right.
system is so strange that there isn't even really the satisfaction of anyone scoring any points.
it is snootier because of that. Because you can imagine almost if someone from Eton had that cap, you're going, "What's that?" And they're going, "Don't you know, dear boy? Are you sure?"
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know, would you?
And there's no way of explaining it really.
No.
You had to be there at
Yeah.
Eton. No, it was a very, very good submission, and you got the 5 points for it. Let's skip to the other end of the scale. Fatia,
What did you? Oh, Swiss chocolate.
Swiss chocolate. So this is what I mean about snooty is undefinable, but I think it's difficult to. I mean, even Alex is mean to Fatia in this instance. She's saying Swiss chocolate is the snootiest chocolate. It's made by Swiss chefs in kitchens.
Yeah.
Even Alex says at one point, do remember that the Swiss chocolate is made in kitchens.
Yeah.
But I think this is a case of Fatia not necessarily thinking this through too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's posh chocolate, I guess.
Yeah.
But is it
But
even
you can't-
anymore?
I'm
I
not
don't
sure it is
I think
anymore.
that just any
I
chocolate, you
think
just
the
go
adverts
Swiss.
would have you believe.
Yes.
But
yeah.
you can still go into any corner shop and buy some
Swiss
Lindt.
chocolate, yeah.
Um,
And Lindt are the adverts she's referencing,
I think so, yeah. So it's not.
It's not snooty at all, is it, really?
No, let's be honest.
No. But again, just she's so funny. Just the way I mean, if you'd not met Fatia before, obviously.
No.
Had you seen any of Fatia's
No, the
work?
first time I met her was when she said to me, "What are you wearing, bruv?" Or "Why are you
That was
dressed like that?"
so funny. That was so funny because Rosie was so polite, and then Fatia turns up, and because I know Fatia, I'm like, he's in for a world of pain here. What are you wearing, bruv? Straight away, and you are slightly taken aback by that.
Yeah, I just sort of looked at the floor. I think I said I thought it would be.
Yeah, that.
I think I sort of mumble. I thought sporty something.
Yeah.
I don't even form
you
a
don't-
full sentence in response.
You don't
to
meet
it.
her with her energy
Not
at all. You'd go, I just thought it'd be a good sporting.
But that's a good example of how quickly three personalities can be defined
Yeah.
within seconds.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that. You don't need to see any more to know who the three of us are.
Well, I think that's what's so amazing about this series in particular, and what Taskmaster does very well generally. But I think that first episode, first prize task, you're basically seeing all of your personalities straight away.
Yeah.
And you're all so different.
Yeah.
But yes, Fatia's an incredible person. She makes me laugh so much. I
Yeah.
love gigging with Fatia because just backstage, she's always angry about something.
Yeah.
And you just let her go off about it. It's fantastic. But yes, the bar of Swiss chocolate, not her finest moment. Rosie brings in a red wine decanter.
Yes.
Again, her idea of what snooty is.
Yeah.
I feel like
It's relative, isn't it?
it is relative. I think she could have
Because-
made it seem snootier by talking about the specific sort of decanter it was, the reason why it's a different shape to other decanters.
Yeah, I guess it's the context of like, who are you having round for dinner?
Yes.
Like, and in certain company, if you got out a wine decanter
Yeah.
and weren't just pouring from the bottle,
Yeah.
that would be extraordinarily snooty.
Yeah, totally. But,
But
any,
if you went to Eton,
yeah. Yeah, they're not caring about that.
you'd just be like, hang on, you're going to pour from the bottle?
Yeah. In some instances, you should just pour from the bottle.
You are a wine person, aren't you?
I try to be.
So when is it? It's about whether it needs to breathe.
Yeah, it depends on the amount of oxygen you want to get to it.
Okay.
But
But
I
can
think
that not just be achieved by?
Well, it
by
can be.
swilling it in a big.
it can be,
balloon
and
glass?
that's the idea of the swilling. But I think in some instances, if it's a very, very old bottle, you almost don't want to expose it to too much oxygen
you
because
would
it will
want-
just collapse. So you
Right.
do decant it for not very long. You're almost decanting it in that sense to get rid of any sediment. That's
Right.
where you're holding the
Who's
phone light
snooty
under
now?
the bottle. Well, this is if Rosie had said some of these things, I think she might have got more points.
it's
And it's a swan decanter. You'd use it for lighter wines because there's less surface area for...
Yeah, you'd have got 5 points with the same item.
I think I would have been kicked off the show, to be honest. Jason really goes for it. Jason brings in his butler, and offers his butler
services. I thought that would get
for
the 5, if I'm honest.
I did as well, not to take anything away from your effort. I think when you're changing it up and you're bringing someone else into the equation, there's a physical element to it.
I thought that was really good.
It was really, really good, and I'm very, very surprised they got 3.
Wow. So Stevie's pet
portrait. It was very good. The portrait of Stevie's tortoise was really fun. And what I liked about Stevie's was that it was something actually from her life. She's actually got something from her house and brought it in, which used to happen loads on Taskmaster. Yeah. And then it became more of a thought exercise and it was coming up with the joke to do on the show. So it was nice to have that sort of old school, actually grab something from your house. And it was a very funny portrait of a tortoise in military uniform. Yeah. And led to a great discussion of Jason asking what rank she was and stuff.
I mean, I thought it was mad. I didn't necessarily think it was snooty.
No, I didn't. I mean, I guess the tortoise looks snootier than a normal tortoise.
It looks dignified and military.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't snooty, actually, you're right. It's a painting of a tortoise.
It's a painting of a tortoise admiral.
Yeah. Not snooty at all.
Not to denigrate it as a,
It's a great portrait, but yeah, it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't necessarily fit in the category. I think it's one of those things where she was like, I'm bringing this in somehow.
Yeah.
I hope there's a category that I can squeeze it into.
That's probably true.
So yeah, I mean, Jason's, for me, was
the
most entertaining and pretty snooty. A butler.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think that's the 5-pointer if I were the Taskmaster. And I say that in the knowledge that there are some of my offerings later that absolutely should have got 5 points.
Okay, good. Well, we'll keep an eye out for those as we talk more about the series. It was 1 point for Fatia, 2 points for Rosie, 3 points for Jason, 4 points for Stevie, and 5 points for you. Task 1, commentate on yourself achieving something really tricky. Then achieve that really tricky thing. Most iconic really tricky thing achieved wins. You have 5 minutes to record your commentary, then 15 minutes to achieve that really tricky thing. Your time starts now. Very difficult task. I love it. I think it's such a good idea. The idea of commentating on something before you've done it and then having to do that thing, I think is so funny. I love watching other people do it, but the idea of doing it myself stressed me out massively.
It was quite stressful. And this is one of the few occasions where I sort of delivered on my promise to myself to think laterally.
Yes.
And was like, hang on, if I do multiple commentaries, then I've got a backup.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And my first thought was like, there was an episode of Ghosts where I did keepy uppies with a severed head.
Yeah.
And to prepare for that, I'd spent quite a lot of time working on keepy uppies. So I thought keepy uppies are a little bit in my locker.
Yeah.
I mean, not by comparison to anyone who's a football player, absolutely not.
Sure.
But I'd back myself with a football to keep going for a fair.
How did you do it on Ghosts then? Were you actually doing keepy uppies with something and then
I was doing actual keepy uppies with a foam version of the head.
Right, okay.
And that was trickier than I bargained for as well because it's not round.
Yeah. Famously, yeah.
But managed to do enough that we could have some footage in there that wasn't just awful, cheated close-ups of, So I thought I'll do that and I'll try and make it impressive by using a tennis ball.
See, this
is not something I've attempted.
This is when you need to think ahead as to what you think other people might do, because I think keepy uppies with a normal football would have instantly been trickier than what everyone else did.
But I hadn't met these guys.
Yeah.
You know, these guys could have incredible secret skills up their locker.
They didn't.
Up their locker.
Up their locker.
They didn't.
They didn't
as it turns out.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah. No, that's true. You were future proofing, and I respect that. But then you did another commentary for catching the grape in the mouth.
Grape, yeah. And actually, as it happens,
I thought that was really good.
I gave myself so little time.
Yeah.
because I was so close with the keepy uppies that I thought I'm not going to need that.
Yeah.
If I just keep going, I'm going to get there. And then I really didn't. So I went for the grape. I had so little time left. And the thing that I had said, I don't know if I said it in the commentary or if I had just made in my head that the only way it will be impressive, I think I said to Alex, if I can get this as high as the house, that would be iconic.
Yeah.
So that was what was in my head, and I did throw it very, very high and got it on the second attempt.
I thought it was great.
Which made it kind of look less tricky. But I could try and repeat that now for you, and I would not.
Yeah, I think that was good. Was that Greg's argument that if it was tricky, you wouldn't have been able to do it on the second time?
I think so, yeah.
But he needed to bring some context into it, because there was a big argument in the studio, but certainly with what Rosie and Stevie were doing, that they did what was tricky for them, not tricky for the populace as a whole. Because, of course, Rosie, I mean, some of Rosie's stuff that she did, I could not believe it. The whole thing of her as this character walking to the dome, sniffing the air, vomiting,
yeah, which
made me scream laughing.
In order to do some
sudden
maths.
unnecessary vomiting really makes me laugh.
Yeah,
and then doing as Greg says, a rudimentary maths sum.
Yeah,
and then vomiting again.
Yeah,
9 times 9.
I mean,
really funny, but not tricky at all, right?
No, I feel it's moments like that where you're glad that Greg is there as the monster to voice what everyone is thinking, because it would feel I wouldn't feel great about telling someone they're stupid because they can't do the 9 times tables without their fingers.
Yeah, what really, the sort of finger thing was talked about, and the fact that it can't be. I loved it. It can't be over 9.
Yeah.
So what a 9/11?
She was like, no,
I can't do it.
Yeah.
But no one actively said, yeah, we can all do that, because we know it.
Yeah.
Because we've remembered it.
Yeah. And also the 11 times table is also one of the easiest.
That's the easiest one.
So yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah.
99. And
well done.
Thank you. Just had to prove I could do it. Stevie leapfrogs over Alex
and scores a goal.
Well, she doesn't leapfrog. I believe that's brought up as well. She doesn't get all the way over. She lands on his back and then scores a goal.
Yeah, an open goal.
Yeah. So again, according to Stevie, tricky for her. But I'd say for most people, probably not that tricky.
The more we talk, the more I think if I had just sort of kicked a ball in the air twice, it would have brought home the 5.
Definitely. But again, you don't know what they're going to be able to do. I think Jason could have done something else. But Jason was clearly, even after episode 1, so obsessed with getting on the roof. I think he must have been told, because it's a long-held thing in Taskmaster that you're not allowed to get on the roof.
Yeah.
That's like one of the only rules.
Yeah.
Were you told that when you arrived and started filming? Or?
Yeah, and was aware of it from other contestants.
Yeah.
And I think it just, because it is something that, it is your first thought.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
In so many situations where you're like, well, what would be mad? What would be impressive? What would look,
So obviously Jason's told this day 1.
Yeah.
He's coming for the first day of filming.
He's aware
tasks.
of the backstory of it.
Yeah, you can't get on the roof. Everyone else goes, yeah, fine. Jason's first thought is, I'm going to get on that roof.
Yeah. But also I think he is also on his secondary / primary mission there.
Yeah.
And it was more that he wanted to do something that turned everyone against Alex.
Yeah.
He wanted the studio audience to turn on Alex.
But they didn't, because I think they understand Alex, and they understand that there has to be some rules. But his commentary was, I mean, I think it's partly being American, having that voice, that sort of natural sports commentary authority, and also just being brilliant at improvising. His commentary was incredible.
Yeah.
And making everyone dress like him so they could feel like what it is to be great. That made me laugh so much.
I'd forgotten that. I wonder if that just came out and then they had to do it, or if he was thinking.
No, I think the commentary he just did off the top of his head.
Yeah, and then they had to
do that.
They had to yes and him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of outfits. So he must have brought all his clothes with him.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Maybe
you
they
bring a
had to hold
spare,
it for
but-
another day.
Yeah. Got to get all Jason's clothes over here, fly them over from
He
America.
gets to the end of his commentary, they're like, right, well, now we can't do that today.
Yeah. Fatia's impressive thing is when we get to the point that this is getting 4 points, you know that there's not been a lot of tricky
Yeah.
things done. Fatia doing a paper plane and flying it through the Taskmaster dome. Particular bit of Fatia's commentary that I really enjoyed. She was just clearly just improvising and just wanted to get to the end of it. Was well done, Fatia. She is the best.
I mean, yeah, there's a certain sort of just honesty to that.
Yeah,
isn't
I
there?
think so. Yeah,
You know, she's not dressing it up.
yeah,
I think I remembered that the phrasing of the task was iconic, so I just shouted, "That's iconic,"
yeah, yeah,
at the end, in the hope that whatever happened out there,
yeah.
the commentary would sort of save it.
Yeah,
maybe.
cover it off. What most of you did very well was within the commentary keeping it to things that you probably could do. Whereas I think Jason was just getting ahead of himself and saying things that would then have to happen around him.
Yeah, I think that. But that's a good. Like, he landed on a game there.
Yeah.
I think, which is probably quite. All my head was doing was going, oh my god, what can I say that I can realistically live
Yes.
up to?
Yeah.
So it was all about like, how high do I set the bar for myself? Hello.
Yes. Just to let you know, there are live ladybirds in the Caravan.
I'm just
Which
putting
is
it
very-
on mic, but it's quite shy.
What's it saying? Not saying anything.
Matthias the best.
Oh wow. That's nice. We've got a Mathew Baynton fan as one of the ladybirds.
No, Fatia. It said Fatia's.
Oh, it said Fatia.
Yeah, it's a Fatia
I
fan.
think it said Matthew's the best.
I think you'll find individually that they've all got different favourites.
Yeah. It was 1 point for Jason, 2 points for Stevie, 3 points for Rosie, 4 points for Fatia, and 5 points for you. Very strong episode for you so far.
Unbelievable.
Let's talk about task 2. It is the first team task. Give Alex exactly 100 marbles on a plate and an egg cup full of tepid water. One of you must always be sitting down, one of you must always be jumping, and one of you must always be clapping your hands. You must each change your action every 30 seconds, and no one may hold anything for more than 5 seconds at a time. Fastest wins. Your time starts when Alex blows his whistle. This is the sort of task that would send me loopy. We didn't have many. There are more complicated ones these days. I don't think we had anything this complicated.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. And I mean, I thought we'd thrown it as soon as Fatia started walking instead of jumping. I was just like... And because it was the first team task,
Yeah.
I sort of... There was at least a little part of my brain was like, well, if you express disappointment at that,
Yeah.
that's going to be deeply unlikable.
Deeply unlikable. You don't know how Fatty is going to react in that
Yeah.
scenario. You can't, because my instinct would have been, fucking hell, Fatty, just
Yeah.
do what it says on the
Yeah, if I knew her, I think
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
there'd have been a bit of
Yeah,
that. Like,
yeah.
you have to jump. We'll be
Oh,
disqualified.
no.
Otherwise, there's no point.
I know her, and I wouldn't have said that.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah.
'Cause I knew what I'd get
knowing
back.
her a bit now,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. It's true. But then you're sort of like, okay, well now we're spending an awful lot of time doing something that I'm pretty sure, whatever happens, we're going to be disqualified.
Disqualified straight away.
And it went on for ages. Also because she had thrown, but I mean, what a plot twist. It took ages because she threw the marbles, but if she had not thrown the marbles,
You would have had too many marbles.
we'd have had too many marbles.
The throwing the marbles thing, just the replay of her throwing the marbles is so funny. Just because Alex tells her to put it down, she just throws them all onto the grass. Gone.
Yeah.
Don't think about those anymore.
No, until you realise we do have to.
We need those.
100 of those.
We need those. It's total chaos. I mean,
Yeah.
I think already in this series we're seeing how chaotic everyone is. And when it gets to the point in this task where it cuts to Fatia and she's brushing the grass and it's normal and you're like, okay, I can see why she's doing that. Because
She's-
someone says, can we get a rake?
Get a rake.
Get
yeah,
a rake. And then it
she
cuts to her with a
gets-
dustpan and brush, just gently brushing the grass.
Brushing the smallest corner
Yeah.
of a fairly sizable lawn.
But you're like,
You're
okay, I can
thinking
see how
you're
she's
not-
got there.
I don't think you're going to follow through and do that throughout the lawn.
Yeah. But it is because already this team is you working really hard and really want to get it right. Yeah. Details oriented. Yeah. Fatty doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And Rosie's just all over the place. Rosie's calling the marbles eggs.
Yeah, but she's having a good time.
She's having a lovely time.
She's happy to be there.
Yeah.
So as an ally, I really felt like Rosie was in my corner.
Sure, she wasn't. I think you were in your corner by yourself, in all honesty.
It might be true.
Yeah.
It might be true.
I think Rosie's just in everyone's corner. I can't... But this is Taskmaster. You just got to do it as well as you can, given the circumstances. And even then, you might end up getting 5 points.
This is what I learned, because you never know what the other people have done.
Well, let's talk about what they did, because it seems like they were quite good. The edit made it seem quite efficient and doing well, and all doing what they're supposed to, dropping things, sitting down, jumping around. But it was 101 marbles, gutting for them.
I would have been gutted in their position.
I can't imagine how you
but I will say this. As you say, details oriented. I think I would have counted the marbles.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I'd have presumed it's 100.
Yeah. No, you know they're going to trip you up with that sort of stuff.
And I would have moved them to a plate.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, but they got away with that. They weren't... Greg was like, oh, we'll let them have that.
I'm trying to look ahead here. Is the wetsuits not...
No.
I'm a details guy.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I think the tambourine was unforgivable. And I think Greg only gave them that because he knew what was coming.
Yeah,
that
that's probably true.
There was 101 marbles. Let's talk about the physicality of Stevie Martin. That hop, skip,
extraordinary stuff
down the drive.
Yeah,
madness.
Yeah, I think it's hard to justify. It's hard to justify. I don't need to.
It's hard to comprehend.
It's hard to comprehend. It's hard. There's no sort of reason for that physical sort of decision.
No.
But the only thing I can really put it down to is just kind of enthusiasm.
Total enthusiasm and confusion all at the same time.
Yeah.
About jumping and moving, jumping forward, and somehow the arms get involved, and
just... Yeah, I don't think she was in control really of what was happening there.
She's taken over by Quentin Blake.
And the invisible skipping rope was such a spot-on observation.
Yeah.
It's like, you could paint it. If you were going to commentate on a very tricky thing to do, and you just did Stevie's jump and said, "Can you paint in a skipping rope?" No one would have ever thought CGI was involved.
Kind of like quite haunting, quite scary in a way. Like, can you imagine a horror film where you were being followed by Stevie doing that?
Yeah.
Really scary.
Yeah. A bit, I mean, I guess it's a bit like a zombie thing in the sense that, like, at least they're not getting anywhere fast.
Nowhere fast, but they're always there.
But if there's lots of skipping Stevie Martins,
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If they're blocking the door, if they're all around the windows and stuff. Unfortunately, it was 1 point for Stevie and Jason, but it was 5 points. Another top score for you in this episode. For you, Fatty and Rosie.
Incredible.
Task 3. Get the most liquid in this can. You may not leave the submaravan. You have 15 minutes. Your time starts now. So here we are. We're at the scene. We're at the scene right now, talking about get the most liquid in this can. So many options, most of which seemed quite frustratingly bad for get the liquid in the can.
I don't know. Again, it was one where I was like, there must be a single thing here that will just fill the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That's what they would have done here. So it's like, find the hack.
Yeah.
And
you can never rely on that in Taskmaster, though, I don't think.
Can't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But there were several sort of hidden around the place. I quite liked it. I quite like these kind of ones where it's kind of madness, but you're basically just up against the clock.
Trying loads of different things.
Looking everywhere you can.
And in an enclosed space as well. So you're searching. It's the escape room vibes of just searching everywhere.
And you can just lean into the chaos and stress of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed finding the picker thing up here.
Yeah, that's a good moment when you find something like that.
bringing in the pint of whatever it was. I was very
breakfast
happy about.
breakfast drink. it
Breakfast
said.
drink.
Yeah, so many weird elements
Yeah.
where it's just Alex
Yeah.
has just been let him put breakfast drink if he
Breakfast
wants.
drink. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but the shower seemed very frustrating. That was coming through the roof was like dribbling.
Yeah, it dribbled, and then I tried to turn the tap a bit more, and the whole thing came off.
Yeah.
And Alex rather unfairly sort of tarnished me as being really destructive.
Yeah,
It was just, I mean, it was being held on by some blue tack or
yeah,
something.
they'd not put it on properly. Definitely not.
Um,
I mean, look, Stevie mentioned this, but I am thinking if I'm doing that task, the first thing I'm thinking is,
do I need a wee?
am I having a piss in it?
Yeah, I don't think I needed one. I wouldn't put it past me to have done that.
To have done that,
Yeah.
look, I think I would have done that. I would have done that,
I
and
think
it would.
I would
No
have.
one would have been happy about that.
I think I would have, and there are things I did where, you know, you do them in the moment and then later on you think, oh, I was just trying to do the task, and no bit of my mind was thinking this is TV footage that will exist even after my death.
Great.
So
Oh, this is fantastic.
I would have pissed in the thing. I would have, but I didn't need one.
You've got to piss in the thing, really. And I was working out where I would do it and how I would do it and how much I would show.
Yeah, I mean, there is a toilet cubicle there, which is where the rig for the drain pipe thing outside was. And I cut my flank on the...
You cut your flank?
I cut one of my flanks.
Well, you had quite
I think
exposed flank.
I think it's in the edit that I sort of grazed myself. And that was bleeding a fair bit. And it turned out Jason was bleeding on
He was bleeding as well. But there was never enough blood to make a real impact on the
and it didn't even occur
level.
to me that the cut in the flank could be gamed in that way.
If it was, you'd be squeezing your flank.
I'd have been like, can I catch an artery somewhere?
Call an ambulance now, because I'm slashing myself up.
Get me a couple of pints of squash, because I think I'm going to need to replenish my sugars.
This is it. This is what we're seeing about you, Matt. Is the dedication to Taskmaster.
I mean, I feel like if you're going to do it,
Yeah.
you got to go for it.
No, I agree with you. Bleed away. Bleed away. I only bled once, actually, I think, when I was... No, I bled twice filming Taskmaster.
Oh, you win.
Once was in here when I shaved my knees, and another one was on a task that wasn't shown where I was trying to sellotape a brick to the door of the caravan.
The unshown tasks.
The unshown tasks. I think everyone throws himself into this pretty well. I mean, it is obviously chaotic. You know, there's the ice situation, which doesn't feel like a good thing to use. You know, you then having to heat the ice up.
Yeah.
There's the bath pearls, which I love. Fatty just like popping the bath pearls into the thing.
I don't think I found those.
No, I think it seemed to be only be Fatty really
Yeah.
who found the bath pearls. There's the whole sort of cleaner, the decking cleaner, Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
Which frustratingly didn't seem to work that well either. Like there was just a bit of liquid.
There wasn't
came out
much, but
No.
I got what there was. I think Jason did too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think you guys did it well. Rosie,
And we both got the breakfast drink.
yes, you both got the breakfast drink.
I mean, Stevie had a nightmare there.
God, I was just chaos. I was quite frustrated watching that actually.
Although there's a moment where she's going for something with the drain pipe from the cleaner, where you think, oh, that actually could be amazing.
Because in my mind,
if she
that
can
would
knock
work.
the bottom,
Knock it down, flip
make
it onto
spill
the thing,
and then immediately lift the end.
Yeah.
But you're going, that's where it's going to fall apart.
Yeah,
But
that's one in 100 getting
she
that
doesn't
right.
even follow through. I think she finds the picker.
Finds the
doesn't she,
pick and then tries
spills
to do
it anyway.
both, and then it's like 5 seconds left, and then she's like hanging out the window, just already given up, just absolute chaos. You melt the wax, which I thought was interesting that you were even trying to melt the wax.
I guess that there's a point where you go, I think I've found all the... what's left to do but melt the wax.
May as well melt the wax.
Yeah, because it's a small caravan. I think I felt like I found everything I could find.
Yeah.
Hadn't found the bath pearls.
You did a very good job. You nearly beat Jason.
Yeah.
Jason did very, very well. Stevie starts a fire, which I think just this series so far, honestly, I think it is the most chaotic.
Proud to be part of the most chaotic series.
It really feels like it, though.
Yeah.
Like there's a fire, there's like everyone's all over the place.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. And I don't know whether that's the tasks or you guys, or most likely a combination of the tasks themselves. They invite this sort of chaos, especially when
deeply reassuring as well.
Yeah.
Kind of like knowing the sort of mess I'd made of so many of these tasks and going into the studio thinking like, I'm going to watch a bunch of relatively dignified, clever people and I'm going to just... How quickly did
you realise that wasn't the case?
Fairly quickly, I think. I'm trying to think back to the first episode, what was in there. The only one I can remember now is the creative task, which isn't a good example.
There was, the backwards forwards task, doing something backwards and doing something forwards.
That wasn't chaos though. That was just
P-Olympics.
Yeah, P-Olympics. I think P-Olympics tells you... Was that in episode 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, P-Olympics tells you immediately
who everyone is.
None of these people are sort of physically competent or intellectually dignified.
Or some of them just don't care as well. Yeah. And there was the first task was the jars of vinegar on the back of their hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again...
Just chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one to talk about that.
Oh, that was Fish Tank, wasn't it?
Yes, the Fish Tank. All very angry at Alex.
I mean, you can see why. There was no part of me that walked into these first 2 episodes thinking, I'm going to win it.
Yeah.
Fish Tank was disastrous.
Yeah. Well, and you were so angry about the Fish Tank.
Yeah.
So angry. Everyone was a bit angry at the whole Fish Tank situation. But you and Jason particularly were livid at the tank being
it really
driven
took me by surprise as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how far into the whole experience it was.
Yeah.
But I think I said it in the studio, like, or on the day. Like, I've watched people on the show sort of get shirty with Alex about stuff and thought, God,
come on, he's having fun.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
You know what you signed up for. What are you doing? But there is a point that comes, and probably faster than you think, where you're so sort of dedicated to trying to do this already stupid thing. You've had jars of vinegar on the backs of your hands. And you're looking for this fish tank. Yeah. I mean, that's stupid enough.
Yes.
And then you find out it's a pun.
Yeah.
And it's the fact it's a pun.
It's the fact it's a pun, and an annoying one as well.
Yeah.
It's an old joke as well. It's, 2 fish in a tank. One of them says who's driving this thing.
That is funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I didn't laugh.
But you knew the punchline, really, didn't you? Because it's a fish tank.
I'd never put that together. Don't think I'd heard the joke.
So that fish tank task, that wasn't the first task you'd done?
Don't think so, no.
I thought it might be, because the whole opening thing is, it says go to the lab, and Stevie doesn't know where the lab is.
Doesn't know where the lab is. It's a good point. I think it wasn't the first one. Maybe it's different for different contestants.
I don't normally.
Is it not?
Normally, I'd say they go.
I think I know which one it was, and funnily enough, it was in the lab.
So the first task was in the lab,
if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah.
But also, you get a tour when you arrive, and you are shown where everywhere is and what it's called.
And crucially, it looks like a lab.
Yeah.
To be fair to Stevie, it's a science theme.
Yes, yeah. But it's still the lab. Yeah. It was 1 point for Stevie, 2 points for Rosie, 3 points for Fatia, 4 points for you, and 5 points for Jason. Live task. Choose an item from each box and place them on the corresponding half of your table. You have 1 minute. Your time starts on the whistle. One at a time, pass the item on your right to the person on your right, and then the item on your left to the person on your left. Put one of your items completely inside the other item. Fastest wins. Your time starts on the whistle. So this is what I mean. Even those 2 initial stages, which are admin before the task starts, take ages, and they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Fatty doesn't want to go near the balloons.
Yeah, it turned out she had a thing about balloons.
About balloons popping.
Yeah, and I don't think she'd informed the production team, because otherwise I don't think they'd have involved balloons in 3 tasks that she did.
So everyone ends up with, she said she doesn't want the balloons, but then they're being passed, and she's like, "No, I'm going to have to pop them." Just total chaos.
Yeah.
And then there's Jason, like, obsessed with the fact he's found the code to the safe.
Alec, I mean, that I would have been.
Yeah.
It's a good thing Jason's mission was destroy, not compete, because if that had been me and I'd been clever enough to have spotted the code, and then the reason it didn't work is because Alex forgot to change the batteries, I'd have walked out.
But I would have been so angry. And I wouldn't have stopped talking about it as well. And they would have taken it out of the edit. And then I would have texted Alex and said, "Why did you take that out of the edit?" People need to know about this.
Yeah.
Because it went wrong. Why aren't you why we need to film it again? We need to film the whole series again.
At least, to be fair, they did include that capitulation in the edit.
Yeah.
But if anything, that's just rubbing salt into the wound. I think.
And he still does fine. But I think he would have done better had the safe opened. And the fact he'd found the code, he was very happy about that. And then when Alex says, "Why not just wrap the foil around it?" Which, sure, is a way of doing it. But I get that instinct of being so focused on completing it in the way that you were supposed to complete it because you found the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Alex, don't tell me how to do.
Yeah. And he wouldn't. The only reason he told him because he knew he'd messed up.
There's no one way to do a task, and you of all people should know that's the whole point of the show.
But unfortunately, in that instance, there
was in the end
because he hadn't put the batteries in the safe. Yes. It was 5 points for Stevie. He was so happy when she did this quickly. I mean, she had the sleeping bag, so it was always going to work out. It was 1 point for Rosie, 2 points for Fatia. I've got written here in my notes. Producer's written me some notes. Fatia did not like this task.
Correct.
I feel like we could put that after quite a few of the tasks in the series. Yeah. Jason, 3 points. Matthew, you got 4 points, and 5 points for Stevie. An incredible episode. 23 points for you. 8 points ahead of Fatia, who was on 15, and Rosie, Stevie, and Jason all on 13 points, meaning that you are in a sizable lead. We're only episode 2, but you are 12 points ahead, which I think is quite unusual.
Yeah.
This early on, but 8 episodes.
It's all to play for.
It's all to play for. Thank you so much for coming on the Taskmaster podcast, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
We always ask our guests to rate their experience on the podcast between 1 and 5 points. Please be honest. You don't need to say 5. Maybe the ladybirds took off some points. Maybe they added some points. I
mean, the ladybirds I like. I'd say, but the feeling of being placed back in that sort of task space.
Yeah.
Probably didn't relax me.
Okay.
And for that reason, I'm going to knock off a point.
That's fair enough.
I'm going to say 4 because it has been a lovely chat.
I'll take 4. It's been a lovely chat. It's nice weather. Ed. We're sat in the caravan.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. I mean, come on. We could have real jobs.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Ed.
For more Taskmaster, subscribe now.